Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Go Digital Western Cape webinar. My name is Robert Davies. I'm from the Digital Economy Unit here at the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, and I'll be your host for today's session, which is going to be a very exciting session with a very exciting lineup and a really great topic. As you all know, by virtue of the invitation, today's topic is smart green tech, digital innovation in the green economy. So that makes me super excited because I think it's a very important and very relevant topic for us. And also being the digital economy unit, it speaks about all things digital and all things digital in a very specific and very important sector, that being the green tech sector or the green sector and the green economy. So firstly, I'm really happy and pleased to be here with you today and sharing this time for you. And while green tech and green economy is really about renewable resources, the one thing that is not a renewable resource is time. So because of that, I want to really extend a heartfelt thanks to everybody in the audience who's made time to join us here today. And then especially also to our really exciting and dynamic panel of presenters today. Thank you also for your time and for all your preparations for today's session. I'll say a bit more about the panel of presenters in a few minutes. But for now, I just want to take us through a couple of house rules, if I can call it that. And those of you who are familiar with the webinar sessions, our regulars, you know the drill by now, but for anybody who might be new in the sessions, if you could please just indulge me so that we can get the session off to a smooth start and see that everything runs smoothly for the next hour or so. That's it for me from the house rules point of view. Today, as you see, our presenters for the webinar on smart green tech, digital innovation in the digital economy, they are from GreenCape. And then also the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. And we're really excited to have our panel of speakers today. As I said, it's a very dynamic panel, really leaders in the field and thought leaders in the field, and really the experts on this topic today. So we're really excited to have all of our speakers with us. And it's also going to culminate at the end of the presentation into an announcement around the launch of the new Green Business Support Services Directory, which was developed by GreenCape and the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom, a joint effort, wonderful effort. So at the end of what's going to be a bit of a presenting relay, we will also have an announcement about the launch of this brand new and exciting and valuable directory. So obviously, I'm not the expert in this. So I'm going to get to our speakers in as soon as I can. And on that note, you'll see we have 5 presenters today, which is really awesome and quite unusual. And that's why I said we're going to have a bit of a presenter relay, because we're really trying to pack in a lot of information in a short amount of time, but also to add value to you in our Go Digital Western Cape, to you as our audience. We always try and pack in a lot of information, but things which will spark your imagination, spark your thoughts and ideas, and create an awareness around the various topics we present on these webinars. In particular today, smart green tech, which I think is such a critical sector going forward. And it sometimes there are things which happen in this sector which we can't even imagine, and that's why webinars are important, and that's why we have got this awesome lineup of presenters for you today. So firstly, we're going to have Claire Pengelly. She's from GreenCape, the Water and Sustainable Agricultural Program Manager. That's a long title, so sorry for the tongue twister. We also have Cecelia she's the head of research and advocacy at the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. Reshmi Wolvers, she's also from GreenCape as a senior energy analyst. Then from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, our very own Helen Davies, who's the Chief Director in Green Economy. And then Marielle, also from GreenCape, who will be doing the presentation of the actual directory at the end, and she's a water sector analyst at GreenCape. So as you can see, 5 awesome presenters. It's going to be really exciting. I happen to be the only guy in the room today, which is really cool. So it's going to be a good ride, and I think without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Claire, who I think is going to kick us off. And Claire will be speaking a little bit about GreenCape, but then also around examples of digital innovation in the green economy and everything that goes together with that. So Claire, I'm going to hand over to you, and yes, you can take us through the next session. But thank you to all our speakers, and great to have you with us again today. Okay, thanks Claire, over to you.
Fantastic, thanks so much Robert, and thank you for the introductions. As noted, my name is Claire Pengelly. And I head up the Water and Agricultural Program at GreenCape. I'm hoping you can all hear me okay and you can see my presentation. Robert, please shout if there are any issues on your side.
Yes, all good, Claire. You can hear clearly and see the presentation. Thank you. Okay,
so I've got a very strict time limit, so I'm going to start the clock now, and hopefully I won't go too much over because I also love to talk. So yes, I'm very excited about the discussion today. But I think a very brief introduction to GreenCape, you perhaps have not come across before. We're a non-profit organization that's based in Cape Town, and we're all about promoting the green economy, and it's around finding those economically viable green economy solutions that we can promote and help grow and increase jobs and investment within the green economy. And we're 10 years old this year, which is quite exciting as well. I think the key thing and the main area where smart technologies and ICT and the green economy have intersected is around the measurement of the resources that we have. And this is where you're seeing a lot of the major impacts in the initial phases of the implementation of smart technologies within both water and within agriculture. But I'm very excited because I think there's a lot more that can be done besides measurement. But even in this initial phase, I think there's a lot of impact that we've seen. So quickly looking at SmartWater and some of the innovations that we've seen recently, this slide will, for many of us on the call, bring back some recollections of the water crisis. We use this diagram frequently to talk to businesses and users around what are the things that they need to think about when starting on their sustainable water use journey? Because we were finding that a lot were jumping into the end of the value chain there. They were trying to drop a borehole and secure their own water supply. And the message that we emphasized again and again and again is that you have to start at the beginning. And the most important thing that you should be doing is implementing metering. So specifically smart metering and sub-metering. Your ability to start there is actually the kind of savings that you're looking to generate, and improving your resilience could really be done simply through implementing those technologies. And we saw case studies that illustrated this again and again. So specifically Growth Point, by implementing sub-metering and smart metering, was able to achieve a 70% water saving, largely due to the fact that they had a water leak that they were unaware of. And that graph at the bottom there illustrates the data that was coming through from their smart meters. On the right-hand side was also a fantastic initiative that was launched during the drought, where corporates, largely led by ShopRite, sponsored smart water meters at schools across the Western Cape, including data analytical services that were provided by Bridget IT. And this was implemented at over 300 schools across the province and was saving millions of litres of water a day, as well as significant costs to the schools themselves. So even this relatively simple intervention was having significant impacts on our schools as well as our businesses. However, I do feel we're at the beginning of our journey. You know, I think that when you start looking at these ideas around smart water networks, and the opportunities that are available to municipalities and utilities, you can really start looking at how to change conventional water and wastewater systems into instrumented, interconnected, and intelligent systems. So instrumented, the ability to detect, sense, measure, and record data. So that's really, where your metering solutions coming in. And we're not just talking about volumetric measurements of water, but I think really importantly, also the quality of the water. So being able to do chemical tests on the water in real time. Interconnected, so be able to communicate and interact with other system operators and managers. And then, of course, really the next leap is intelligent. So ability to analyze the data, to enable quick responses and optimize troubleshooting solutions. So I think in South Africa, I think we're really kind of getting to grips with that initial phase, the instrumentation phase. But if you look at what's happening in the likes of Korea, they only need 80 people for that entire metropolis to manage the city's water systems. So really by employing smart technology, you're able to do that. And this is also, again, inspired by Korea, and I'm not going to go through this, but really it starts to show you all of the various different interactions across the water system that could really help in terms of managing and monitoring the system, as well as helping actually implement some of the advances in it. So whether it's sensors, water treatment, GIS, advanced metering, pressure control, etc., there's, I think, a lot of opportunity to really think around the smart technologies in this particular sphere. When we're talking about SmartAgri, again, another really exciting area of opportunity. We typically refer to it in terms of precision agriculture. So this is where you're really thinking about how to utilize the resources that are to you in a much more precise manner. You've got your sensor technologies, so really thinking about remote sensing, which I'll talk a little bit more about, which is well established here in the Western Cape, as well as proximal sensing and communication systems. You also have a number of software solutions that can really help farmers in thinking about how to plant, harvest, fertilize, and manage their crops much more effectively. Looking at a case study here in the Western Cape, FruitLook, which you may be aware of, is a service in which satellite information is provided to Western Cape fruit farmers in support of water efficient farming. So this is actually funded by the Western Cape Department of Agriculture. eLeaf is the software company that provides the real-time provision of satellite data via a FruitLook web portal. So I'll encourage you to go and actually take a quick look at it if you are interested in it. And what's interesting is that it is now available across all the agricultural regions in the Western Cape. That table there at the bottom gives you a sense of how much coverage is now available. So we're looking at over 1.5 million hectares is currently available and is being tracked actively within the FruitLook system. And actual coverage, so actual maps and fields that are being tracked on an ongoing basis is up to 76,000 hectares. And you'll actually notice that a lot of the users are reporting savings of at least 10% on their water. And I think it's always very important to note that in the agricultural sector, water savings are very closely linked to energy because of the cost to pump water. So those also result in energy savings of a similar amount. And on the right-hand side, you get a little of a snapshot of the kind of result that you can get through the FruitLook portal. What's quite interesting is that FruitLook is just one of the many technologies that farmers that are looking to adopt. So the bottom left is they're only users that use FruitLook, but a lot of farmers are adopting drones, soil samples, so being able to remotely or proximal actually test the soil. Soil is, of course, an incredibly important asset to farmers. Weather forecasts, really important here in South Africa, but in fact, even more relevant elsewhere in Africa, being able to have accurate information on what the forthcoming weather looks like so you can harvest and plant, etc. appropriately. And then, of course, the soil moisture probes. Are you irrigating too much or too little, and really adjusting it appropriately according to what actually your plants require. And I think drones, we're expecting to be a really big business within agriculture. We're noting that the global drone uptake within the various different sectors, you'll notice that agriculture is the top or the second top sector to expect an uptake of it. So really noting that there's quite a lot of opportunity within this particular sector, but certainly there's a lot of other opportunities within agriculture and water that are relevant for the smart technology and digital technology sector. Thank you very much. That's it from me. I only went slightly over time.
No, perfect. I think we're on a good stretch for the relay on the back straight. No, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Claire. I think next, I'm not going to comment on Claire's presentation now, although I have some notes. I'll rather hold that till the end. But I think next up is it Reshmi. Are you up next?
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me here on the Go Digital Western Cape webinar. My name is Reshmi Wolvers, and I am on GreenCape's energy and alternative service delivery teams. So today, as part of the SmartEnergy feature, I'll be taking you on a slightly different route and telling you about the alternative service delivery unit and our very exciting first pilot, which is based out in Atlantis, called Witsand. So the Alternative Service Delivery Unit, I'm going to be shortening it to ASDU for time constraints, is the off-grid service delivery unit, which effectively sits under GreenCape's energy program. Our vision is an equal and unhindered access for all South Africans to an open, technically sound, socially inclusive, and commercially resilient energy economy. We also have an equally ambitious mission, and that is to improve the lives and livelihoods of 100,000 impoverished South Africans by 2025 through activating basic service delivery models that are need-driven, technically sound, socially inclusive, and financially resilient. Originally and to date, all our projects have been focused on energy services, but that's not to say that we are close to water and sanitation and waste management projects in the future. The ASDU was established to design, facilitate, and manage the provision of interim energy services to unserviced and unserviceable communities. With the rapid growth of informal settlements that the city has to deal with, and the province and no doubt the whole of South Africa, we know that these governments are incapacitated to deal with this growth and to do timely service delivery in that space. But our services are interim and they do not necessarily compete with the traditional electrification. It's really a process of helping these communities while they wait. The ASDU has a very adaptive co-design framework which is used to facilitate data-driven, community-led energy provision. We are built around 3 iterated fundamentals. So our services are effectively smart because they are socially inclusive. They engage with communities to understand what their challenges are. They're technically sound in the sense that we are trying to find technology solutions that meet the need of the community, but also that are wanted by the community. And in terms of financial sustainability, that they make use of business models that are, one, affordable to the community, but also make business sense for the service providers. We've been working in 3 different communities, Witsand near Atlantis and the Freedom Farm and Malawi camp communities in the airport Industria. But today I'll tell you about our first pilot, which is in Witsand. So just before I get to the Witsand pilot, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the co-design approach that we take. So co-design or participatory design is effectively the act of working with stakeholders to ensure that the results meet their needs and are also usable. So we are not designing for the people, but rather with the people in a fairly collaborative process. The approach that we take is something called asset-based community development. And it basically takes into consideration that every community, however underdeveloped or poor they may be, they have resources within them. And in this process of asset-based community development, we try to empower these communities to identify their own problems and then to be part of their own development through those local assets or resources that are available to them. It's an understanding that communities, even if their data shows that they are fairly similar, they are not all the same for a variety of reasons. and to know that these communities, of course, know their context better than anyone else. So if we're making decisions for them, we should certainly include them in that process. That is known as mobilization. So engaging communities creatively, helping them to appreciate their own assets as a unit, and empowering them to help design those solutions with us or with the service providers in need. And this entire thing encourages community buy-in and also support for the entire process, which I'm sure you understand is critical to the success of any project, especially at the base of the pyramid. There are 4 steps that we need to follow to create those early foundations for trust, to ensure that we have the commitment and buy-in from the community, and also to really make sure that this participatory co-design process that we follow is informed by real-world data, which is collected then in the enumeration process. So this ensuring that the co-design approach is actually data-led protects the process from being pulled off course by different participants or political parties, in that all the decisions that are made for these communities are also backed up by the data that is collected while still allowing for the impact of co-design. So one of the things that one of the steps that we follow is community mapping, where we try to understand who the different stakeholders are in this community, who is needed to be included in making the decisions for them, and really to understand what the appetite is for such a project. So if you're going into a community, that's one of the critical first steps, is to make sure that what you're offering is actually wanted by the community. We then look to, through that community mapping exercise, try to identify who the community leaders are. There are this can go into a whirlwind situation, but verified community leaders who represent either demographically or through the interests of the community, the core leadership structure. We also do mobilization and enumeration, which I referred to a little bit earlier. And that helps us to understand the data in this community, the demographics of the community, and also the dynamics of the community. And through that data that we've collected, we undergo a co-design process, which is community-led. And that helps us to really interpret the data that we collected in the earlier step to create a rich picture and to ensure that whatever solutions that have been designed are designed with the community and that are driven by them. One of the examples of how we do this is through a prioritization exercise, where we look at the different types of challenges and issues that are faced by the community with the core leadership team who represents them. And we then, with them, try to theme these issues into solutions. For example, issues of not having access to the internet or not having enough power to watch TV even could be grouped under connectivity. Things like either not having power to have your fridge on long enough to keep your food cold, and in effect not even being able to save money by buying in bulk for that reason, might be grouped under food storage. These are all themes that we work with them to identify. And then we go through the prioritization exercise, where we're looking at a grid on urgency versus impact. We know that all of these challenges can be solved and they would be useful to solve, but which of these solutions would be life-changing? On the other hand, which of these solutions or problems can we wait to solve? Are they managing currently fairly well with? And which of these do they need urgent attention? And so along this axis, we can try and find out which are the problems that need our attention right now, and for which ones should we look or at least push them further down the list. So coming to Vitsand. Vitsand pilot shows a very strong case for this data-driven, community-led service delivery. Vitsand is a super vibrant, very diverse and active community, which is located near Atlantis in the Western Cape. We've been working in Vitsand since about 2017. When we first met the Vitsand community, they were fairly disgruntled, they were very divided, and they were very upset about service delivery. And you can see in the top two pictures that there was a fair amount of violence and protesting that was taking place. After a very extensive mobilization exercise, we came to a point where this multi-party community was more united, still with their differences, but united amongst a common cause and mobilized to empower this change for themselves. We underwent an enumeration process with them, and it was clear that there was a lack of formal tenure, there was insufficient public space and facilities. One of the more shocking understandings that came from this data was that at least 80% of the children in this community didn't go to school. And there was very little area lighting in the area as well, which potentially was a reason for it being so unsafe and for the increased criminal activity. People were walking up to 1 kilometer at night to go to the toilets on the periphery. So we worked with them, we did the co-design process as well. And one of the solutions that they prioritized was area lighting and connectivity. And these were identified as their most pressing needs that energy services could potentially help to address. And we were lucky enough in that sense to find have a partnership with a great company called Think Wi-Fi, who offered solar-powered Wi-Fi-enabled streetlights, which very clearly address those needs of area lighting and connectivity. It's the lollipop that you see on the left, if you can see it. And this was powered by a really great, innovative payment model, which effectively was ran in the sense that businesses in the area and the neighboring area and within the community paid for the project through advertising on the Wi-Fi login platforms. For example, if anyone in that community was logging into the service, they had a platform to log in, and that platform would play a 30-second ad of the business or the products on offer, and then they got 30 minutes of uncapped free Wi-Fi. And then the ads would start up again. So a small inconvenience for a massive contribution to this community. And in terms of the impact of this project, there's obviously now area lighting in that area, and of course that contributes to increased safety and security of the resources of the community. There is approximately 11,000 people that connect to this Wi-Fi every day, from people who did not have access to connectivity and where education and enterprise was seen as a major challenge. Micro businesses have evolved around the stations, and these businesses are also able to stay in business later into the day because of the increased lighting and the access to connectivity. So this is one of the incredible impacts that this project has had due to having engaged with the community, understanding exactly what the challenges were, and seeing exactly what the need was and what they hope to achieve. And luckily, we were able to find a service provider who could really meet that need as well. And that's it from my side. Please do let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Reshmi. That Witsun is very close to home here in Cape Town, and it's great to see the nature of the work that you've been doing there. As I said with Claire also, I've got a lot of comments and thoughts, but I'm going to hold back because that's not my role here today. So let's continue our relay on our with our session today. So next up we have Cecelia. So Cecelia, if I recall correctly, you are not going to be sharing a presentation. Is that right? You'll just be chatting? Great
That's
stuff.
Right.
So please go for it, and I'll hand over to Cecelia to take us through the next part of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real joy for me to be part of such a wonderful panel. Over the years, I've actually been lucky enough to work with everyone on it. So yeah, that's great. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, which is an international German-based non-profit organization that promotes constitutional democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and a green social market economy. Today, I'll be speaking about how the green economy can help us face and, in fact, overcome some of the country's major problems. And I think Reshmi's presentation certainly highlighted some of the major issues that we face on a day-to-day basis in South Africa. As we all know, South Africa is really on its knees. It is facing a variety of crises. The economy had already fallen into a recession before the pandemic hit, But of course, COVID-19 and the measures taken to deal with it have massively exacerbated this dire situation. And we now find ourselves in a severe recession, with the country's GDP having fallen steeply for the 4th consecutive quarter. Our expanded unemployment rate, which includes discouraged work seekers, lies at an alarming 42%. So that's 4 people in every 10 who can't find jobs. In the 2nd quarter of this year alone, the number of people in the workforce dropped by 2.2 million, taking the number of employed people to only 14.1 million. And if you think about it, there's a population of about 58 million. That's very few people keeping the economy going. In April, nearly 50%, so nearly half of respondents in a national survey indicated that they had no money for food by the end of the month. But one of the central pillars on which a functioning economy is based is, of course, energy security. As we all know, due to long-term and widespread mismanagement and corruption at South Africa's largest state-owned enterprise, and let's not forget there are about 700 such state-owned enterprises, and energy monopoly Eskom, we have been burdened with dangerously high levels of debt. This debt, of course, weighs very heavily on the country's already precarious fiscus. And South Africa is held back by constrained electricity supply, with the country facing frequent blackouts, which we all know, unfortunately, too well. Obviously, this has had and continues to have devastating effects on South Africa's carbon footprint, given Eskom's heavy reliance on coal, and the economy, as well as job creation. Whilst the Integrated Resource Plan of 2019 proposes large-scale build of renewable energy capacity to fill the electricity generation gap and to replace decommissioned coal plants, too little has been done to realize this plan. However, just the other day, Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe opened the way for municipalities in good financial standing to develop their own power generation projects. This is definitely a move in the right direction, and we can only hope that it is a sign of things to come. Of course, though, we must bear in mind, again, something that Reshmi highlighted in her presentation, how few municipalities find themselves in such a position. It's only those that are governed well. So let's not beat around the bush. The green economy is a no-brainer, socially, economically, and environmentally. But the reason it has not been able to flourish in South Africa is because of the major vested interests it stands to harm. If we are at all serious about saving our broken economy and lifting people out of poverty and unemployment, we have to confront the political, commercial, and criminal patronage networks around coal and Eskom. Now, I think more than ever, we need to advocate for the unleashing of green power, literally, to propel South Africa's economy forward and to enable the people of this country to advance. The renewable energy sector holds massive growth and job creation potential and stands to pave the way for a secure and sustainable energy future. South Africa is truly ripe for a just transition, away from a past based on dirty, unreliable, and centralized energy toward a market-driven, clean energy future to underpin a buoyant economy and, in turn, desperately needed job creation. Of course, there's much more untapped potential beyond just green energy in the green economy. There is also all the potential of green innovation in sectors such as water, another one of South Africa's biggest problem areas, and which Claire touched upon. Agriculture, and again, Claire had dealt with this earlier, waste, transport, construction, and the bioeconomy. We need to create an enabling environment in which the green economy can flourish. Specifically, we need to enable green entrepreneurs and SMEs to thrive. According to the International Labour Organization's data, micro and small enterprises account for a staggering 70% of employment worldwide. But in South Africa, SMEs only account for a very low 28% of jobs, according to relatively new research undertaken by the Small Business Institute. This is smaller than previously assumed. So there is a lot of scope for growth in the SME sector, especially the green SME sector, if we can create the right enabling environment. And yes, that obviously starts with a reliable energy supply. We also need to provide the right assistance, and this is where the Green Directory comes in, but that'll be discussed a bit later. And contrary to popular belief, the growth of the SME sector stands to benefit significantly low-skilled and unskilled workers. And such workers make up a large proportion of the unemployed in South Africa. So in a nutshell, if we want to strengthen our fragile social fabric and have fewer disenfranchised and unemployed people who feel that they have no future prospects, and if we want a sustainable economy based on green and market-driven solutions, we must together all push for the growth of the green economy. It is urgent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Cecelia. That was, I think, a very critical part of this session, because it was quite sobering, because it reminds us that all the things we're talking about around digital and green and renewable resources, it happens within a particular political and social and economic context, which I think is important. It's not within a vacuum. It's not all fun and games. The situation is very real and it's urgent. So thank you for reminding us of that. I think we'll discuss that a bit more in the Q&A session. So Cecelia is now handing the relay baton over to Helen. And so Helen, if you can take us into the next session. Helen's from the department, so it's always a pleasure to have Helen on our sessions. Thanks, Helen. Are you sharing some slides? There we go. The one slide. That's right.
Great. Thanks, Robert. I've only got 5 minutes. We're going to do it in one slide, but building on a slide. I've just been asked to speak to everyone around the smart green Western Cape future. So it's already been spoken about. The economy, both locally across the country and globally, has been absolutely hammered. So there's a lot of work that's underway looking at how do we recover that economy moving forward. Our economic recovery plan and approach from the Western Cape side as well as the country is really around improving business competitiveness, improving confidence both of businesses and investors, improving investment, whether that be in the growth of existing businesses or attracting new businesses to the Western Cape, and all of that helping to lead to increased job creation. A key theme of our post-COVID economic recovery plan is resource resilience, with a particular focus on water and energy. And we drive this whole resource resilience theme through the work on the green economy. So very broadly, our overall approach is around market stimulation initially. So working, supporting, and driving changes to enable businesses, households, and governments, both to improve their resource resilience through alternative sources, but also to improve their energy and water resilience, or efficiency, sorry. And that all then leads on to improved or kind of stimulated local production and services, so the scope for green economy businesses. There are a bunch of systemic issues that we absolutely have to address. So a lot of regulatory and policy issues, financial access mechanisms and contract issues, technologies and products and skills, resources, amongst others. And the last part of the slide, where I'll spend most of the time, is just to touch on some of the examples of work that's taking place within the Western Cape at the moment around each of these. So, for example, in the regulations and policy space for water, there's a lot of work underway around groundwater use and groundwater licensing. So around enabling businesses, households, others who can use groundwater correctly to do so, but ensuring that that water use is monitored and that we protect our water resources. A lot of digital technologies and others needs to come into that space. In terms of the national IRP, is lobbying for the opening of bid window 5 so that we can get that next stage of utility scale energy onto the table. Changes that have recently taken place, as recently as last Friday, around the Electricity Regulation Act, which is one of the first key steps towards decentralization. So that's decentralization of both energy, water provision, and other services. And what we mean and what we see the advantages of through decentralization is sharing ownership, but along with that, sharing risk, sharing the financing of these systems, etc., but looking at a fundamentally different way of providing for the resources that we need to grow our economy. On the financial access mechanisms and contracting side, there's been a lot of work over the last 5 years, driven by the Department of Economic Development and run through GreenCape, which has been around supporting municipalities feed into the grid. The development of feed-in tariffs has been absolutely key here. But one of the challenges is that those who go off the grid or partially off the grid have a negative impact on municipal revenue. So part of the work underway is to relook at municipal revenue models, both from the energy side and the water side. A lot of work and further work needs to take place in terms of ESCO type contracts. So how do we have very different types of contracting that allow for innovation and that are based on performance-based contracts? Wheeling, allowing the sale of energy from someone who generates it onto another business or entity, is something that is starting to be driven quite heavily in the Western Cape, and we see a big future for. And then the finance database is put together through our contract with GreenCape and others to show what kind of financing options are available for businesses in the green economy space. In terms of technologies and products, we're driving the Atlantis Green Tech Special Economic Zone, which is aimed at being a hub of green tech development, and through that also promote local manufacturing and development elsewhere. So a system of incentives, land incentives, and others, building of top infrastructure, etc. The Western Cape Water Innovation Network is something which GreenCape is working on through contract with us, around looking at innovative platforms for both the supply and the demand side around water technology and trying to match those two. Through a municipal energy resilience project that we're doing, we're looking at really testing certain technologies and product groupings, developing business cases and seeing which of these energy approaches are appropriate for what size municipality and what type municipality. Linked to that is also one of the key barriers in terms of municipalities to be able to take up new energy generation and transmission options is around knowing what their grid can hold. So electricity master plans for municipalities are absolutely critical to understand what their network limitations might be and how we fill those gaps. GreenCape ongoing provides support to businesses, both businesses wanting to improve their own efficiency and look for alternative technologies, but also to businesses in the green economy space. And the directory that's being launched today is absolutely key to really summarize and have a one-stop shop for where all of that support is available. Multiple options for digital solutions. Claire took us through a number of those, but really to look at digital as a key mechanism to drive the green economy forward. Mobility has been a huge challenge for many years, and the remote working environment that we've had to deal with recently really shows us the importance of digital solutions to enable us to move forward in an innovative way. And then lastly is market intelligence, so both to enable businesses and suppliers in the green economy space to understand where the key opportunities are, where the barriers are, etc., but also tech awareness to take up that technology. And then lastly, just to touch on the skills or resources space, to understand where the skills requirements are to really drive forward this green economy sector. As a sector, a lot of work's been done in terms of photovoltaic PV skills courses, alternative plumbing courses for alternative water systems, and the Atlantis SEZ is also focused on building up green economy as well as other skills. So I think I've kept within my 5 minutes, but yeah, just we're super excited. The green economy has always been seen as a means and a way of driving a different economy forward. And I think it's starting to get to really move up the radar in terms of prioritization, to not just be a sector, but to be integrated throughout everything that we do. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, Helen. I must say, just listening to you, Helen, and Cecelia and Reshmi and Claire earlier, having you guys at the forefront of this work is making me feel really confident and really excited. So thank you very much for that. Just in terms of our process, we're on that part of the relay now where I think it's time to take a water break, but no, I'm just joking. We're not going to take a break. But yes, that's, I think what's been said has really set the tone for the next part of the session, because directories like the one that Cecelia and Marielle will speak about will also show you how GreenCape, how the department, how the foundation is trying to support this work, because this does have to be supported. Without me going into my little monologue, because I've got so many thoughts and ideas running and questions running through my mind, I just want to acknowledge 2 questions in the chat group from both Dani van der Merwe and Mark Grant. We'll get to your questions just after we speak about about the directory. So I think, Cecelia, if I understand correctly, you're going to do a quick talk on that, and then we're handing over to Marielle. So Cecelia, thank you. Over to you. We had a pit stop.
Thank you so much. Yes, Robert, I'll be quick.
No, not to make a rush. Do your thing. This is a very important part. So do your thing. I'm not rushing you at all. I think it's really great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Well, first and foremost, a massive thank you to the phenomenal GreenCape team who has worked on the development of the Green Directory. So that's Claire, Adila, Jane, and Marielle, and others who have done incredible work to make this project a reality. To give you a bit of the project history, we built on the digital hub we created in 2019 in response to the severe drought in the Western Cape to support innovation in the water space. And the directory now covers a variety of sectors in the green economy. Basically, we sought to create a one-stop digital hub for business development services to publicize their support services, programs, and opportunities that are available to green business entrepreneurs and SMEs in South Africa. So this is really the place where green entrepreneurs and SMEs can access sector-relevant support services, which then can help them leverage opportunities and finance and to grow their businesses and basically to gain entry into commercial, industrial, residential, and municipal markets. And this is always comes up as an issue, as a barrier for entrepreneurs and SMEs, is just access to finance, access to opportunities, access to business assistance. So that's really what we're trying to do here. And yeah, in our preliminary research, we really discovered that there was a real need for such a digital platform. Certainly, given the way our world is going, there has been a massive trend towards creating digital databases, but obviously this has been massively accelerated by the pandemic and the shift basically to all things online. But in brief, it's easy, it's accessible, it's free, and we think it's super user-friendly. And so if you are a green business development service provider, or if you know of such organizations, please sign up or encourage others to sign up. The more the merrier. We would love to engage with you, and we are also really keen to receive your feedback on the platform. So please just get involved, get in touch, and be part of the green economy revolution. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great call to action, Cecelia. I think, Marielle, are you going to take us through a bit of a show and tell of the directory? There we go.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Marielle.
much, Robert. And thank you, Cecelia, for providing the perfect segue to launching the Green Business Directory. I feel very privileged to be part of such a groundbreaking project. So like Cecelia said, the Green Business Support Services Directory is built on 2 pillars. The first one being that it provides a platform for green business support service to showcase their support services. So whether it be funding and investment, business development services, or incubation hubs, this is the place where you want to list your services. The second part of the directory is aimed at green entrepreneurs to provide a one-stop shop for them to find the support services that they do need. So like Cecelia said, we try to make it as user-friendly as possible. I'm just going to take you through the directory and showcase our work. So this is the homepage. As you can see, we've divided the support services into 12 different categories. So if you're a green entrepreneur and you're looking for funding, you can simply click on funding and investment, and it will take you to all of the different funders that are available. We've divided the directory into 5 green sectors. So it's agriculture, energy, transport, waste, and water and sanitation. And it's also categorized by location. So people in different areas qualify for different support services, and it's categorized by those locations. The second part of the directory then is for support services to register the services that they do provide. So simply click on register your support service, then register in the applicable category. The button will take you to applicable form. We encourage you to please fill out the form. The form will then be sent to me where I will vet the information, and within about 24 hours we will list your support service on the directory. Another part of the directory that we're very proud and excited about is the news section. So this is for all the news and groundbreaking innovations that occur within the green economy space. So if you're a support service provider and you are launching a program or an incubation hub, please send through those press releases so that we can also post these on the news section. Yeah, very proud to be part of this, and please visit the directory. I've posted the link in the chat.
Thank you very much, Marielle. Yes, I have seen that you've posted the link in the chat. So to the audience, please have a look at the chat, and then you can get access to the directory quite easily. So that was our call to action for you and your associates and your colleagues in the sector. I think it's a very powerful and a very important resource. And I know both Foundation and GreenCape have put in a tremendous amount of work because I think it's quite clear how valuable this is and how high on the agenda this is for them as organizations, but also for us as a province and the country. So thank you very much to all our presenters. As I said, I'm going to hold back on my thoughts and ideas and stuff and just deal with or give some air at least to some questions which came up in the chat window. So you'll see there are some links which have been posted by Reshmi and, as I said, now by Marielle, so please have a look at those. But then there was a question from Dani van der Merwe, and this can be to anyone on the panel. I'm not sure who's the expert in this regard, so the panel members, you can put up your hand, whoever wants to take this one. So the first question, this one is from Dani van der Merwe, is renewable generation is coming right now, but what about grid distribution that needs modernization to utilize green energy as well as V2G and grid storage? This will have to be dealt with at the municipal level too. So that's the first question, and I think our presenters can see that in the chat window. So any takers on that? And the second one I'll pose while I've got the floor is from Mark Grant. His question is, what is the City of Cape Town's attitude towards its grid being used for peer-to-peer energy trading? So any of the speakers? Okay, I see Reshmi's hand is up. So Reshmi, you can, I'm not sure which question you're going to respond to, but yeah, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Cool. I think Dani's asked the question and answered it a little bit as well in his statement. But yes, okay. Definitely too, Dani. Local distribution will be vitally important, and we definitely need to start a shift. We need to start to shift our focus onto what the grid of the future will look like, and we need to take we need to map pragmatic steps to start this process. So it can't just be one big jump where we go from what it's maybe not currently to a smart grid. Things like the rollout of smart meters, smart device management, these are all possible low-hanging fruits, and I think a province and city are at least trying to figure out how they can do that pragmatically at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Reshmi. Any other takers from the floor? I would love to answer, but I would have no idea what to say. I think on Mark's question, the City of Cape Town's attitude toward its grid being used for peer-to-peer energy trading? Or is that a trick question? Okay, Reshmi, awesome. Thanks, Reshmi. There you go.
Well, if no one else will answer, but I also think that I probably shouldn't answer this, seeing as nobody from City is here, so don't take my word for it. But just to say that the City of Cape Town does have a wheeling tariff in place, and they are finalizing the regulations for this. In fact, they were one of the first Munichs in the country to have a NERSA-approved wheeling tariff, but I'm not sure that they have regulated peer-to-peer energy trading just yet, but perhaps that is something they would be open to, seeing as they are very Cabral is on the webinar, so maybe she can answer it. I see Helen has responded.
Thanks, Reshmi, and thanks for the heads up, Helen. So there is another question from Johan, which I suppose will be towards Marielle and Cecelia, around that you mentioned SMEs can register there and list their services on the new directory. And perhaps if you could elaborate on that. But before we get to your response on Johan's question, just linking back to the previous one, Cabral, are you by any chance, do you have any comments to add to what Reshmi had noted? If you are prepared to. Putting you on the spot, Cabral.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. I think Reshmi answered the question as far as that. Our focus at the moment is on getting wheeling right as a mechanism for people to shift energy across the grid. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Cabral. Appreciate that very much. Okay, so perhaps Marielle or Cecelia, you can respond to Johan's question. Thank you.
Sure thing. Basically, it's not for SMEs or entrepreneurs to sign up on the actual platform. What we have on the platform is the business service development providers. So they will be there, and that's where entrepreneurs and SMEs can find them. So it's basically, a portal for SMEs and entrepreneurs to find all kinds of services, events, that kind of thing on the platform. I hope that clarifies things.
Okay, thank you. Marielle, did you want to add something, or are you okay with that?
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Cecelia.
Okay. Awesome. I think we've covered all the questions that came up in the chat window, and of course, the audience, you still encouraged to add more questions if you want. We have scheduled this session till for another 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'll make a few comments, and then while I'm trying to say my thing about what I know about this, I'm going to give the presenters maybe just a minute or so to think if you'd like to add any last statements or any last comments, and then thereafter we'll wrap up for the day. Okay, so I'm giving you a bit of a segue to think about any last monumental statements or calls to action you would like to make. But yeah, just I think comment on, not in any particular order, but around the presentations that our panel has made. I think, Claire, when you initially, when you kicked us off, you started with data and with measurement, and I think that was very important. But at the same time, you also reminded that applying digital or tech to the sectors you spoke about, it's not about throwing everything off the table. It's really about building on best practices, and it's really about, precision agriculture. It's still agriculture. The fundamentals remain the same. And very often, I think people think that digital is coming in, and the fourth industrial revolution, I'm cautious to use the word, but I'll use it in this case, is coming to destroy everything we've built before. But I think what you demonstrated is really how things like AI and IoT and drones specifically can add a lot of value to the existing best practices. I even thought as way back to the years when Israel piloted the drip technology, which was a very low-tech but highly effective solution. And I think if we are able to solve the problems and improve on what we already know in terms of best practice, that would be fantastic. And you really reminded me a lot about that. So thank you to Claire. And then Reshmi, you spoke about data too. I think we can't escape the data, and I think that will become a powerful tool to us going forward. But what I also found encouraging around what you were saying is that from a perspective of development management, years ago we started with integrated development and then holistic development. It moved into the sustainability field, and now even speaking about tech, the fundamental practices of social development, community co-design, listening to people, empathy, all those things is something which works in conjunction with tech and digital technologies that we are able to apply to communities who face very, very harsh realities. I'm always cautious to romanticize these things because I think the realities out there are very harsh, and how these processes, also building on things, tried and tested methodologies in the developmental sphere, how they can enhance the work we're doing. I mean, having Wi-Fi nowadays, I think, is probably a basic right for communication and digital access and digital inclusion, and linking that to a commercial space in places where people live, where you can walk from your front door. I think that's awesome. And immediately that allows access from the bottom up at a grassroots level. So that was really encouraging. I think, Cecelia, as I said before, what you spoke about is quite sobering and very important, because this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Internationally, we are experiencing very similar things, especially now with COVID. But South Africa has got its very own flavor and its very own context. And the political economy, our social context, our environmental context, and our history. I mean, it's really, all these things are seated within that, and it's held within that space. And I think that is very important, because sometimes that can speed things up, but it can also be a very hampering fact. But it's important to place within that context. So thank you for, as I said, once again, that sobering reminder of our realities that we face. Helen, I think the what I really found encouraging is around the approach to looking at renewable resources, that's looking at alternative resources, but at the same time also about efficiencies, and doing more with less. I think our behavior has to change as a business community, as public, as government. And at the same time, the decentralized model or approach is encouraging, because I think this kind of top-down centralized model is very, I think we're moving away from that. So speaking about the regulatory environment and how that's opening up and hopefully speeding up so we can build some momentum was really great. So, and then obviously it ended with a call to action on the directory. So that I think it's practical. It's a digital tool, which is awesome, but it's also a very practical way in which we are able to engage with these things, because sometimes things do feel a bit intangible, but we do need tangible ways for us as an ecosystem and businesses in the green tech sector to communicate and to liaise and build that ecosystem, because the ecosystem is really the fundamental part of how that sector can grow. So that's my 2 cents. I wanted to add. I would maybe just like to hand over to anybody on our panel to maybe make some last comments or statements. You don't have to if you don't want to, but maybe a last opportunity to you before I round off for the day. Thank you. Marielle, okay.
Hi, Robert. I just quickly wanted to add, our communications head just reminded me that should SMME provide a support service, they are also welcome to register on the Green Directory, but the aim for registration is only for support services, not green entrepreneurs. It's merely just a place where they can find the support that they need.
Awesome. But maybe in future that might change.
Yes,
no,
it might.
I was just joking. Cecelia, thank you. You still on mute, Cecelia. There we go.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to what Marielle has just said. I know she's written it in the chat, but I'm just going to say it. The website to go and visit is greendirectory.co.za. And if you'd like to register, it's greendirectory.co.za/register. And before I hand over, I just wanted to say a massive thanks to the Western Cape government and to GreenCape. It is always wonderful to partner with you both, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be on the panel. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Cecelia. Thank you very much to you also. Helen, your hand's up, so comments from your side.
Thanks, Robert. I think my final call is just that it feels like each time we have a crisis, the green economy comes onto the radar, and when the crisis is over, the green economy falls off. But I think, I mean, the fact that we seem to be having energy and water crises straight after each other has kept the momentum going. But I think the COVID crisis, what we're seeing not just in the Western Cape, but we're also seeing in South Africa and globally, is that there seems to be a standard call for putting our economy back together in a much stronger way, and in a way that uses the green economy to build something that's better and that's more resilient. So we're cautiously optimistic that things won't fall back to business as usual post the crisis, but that we use this as an opportunity. But collectively, we need to use this as an opportunity to drive fundamental change. We've been pushing for certain things for a long time, but just collectively, if we can drive that change, we can make this happen, which lands up being better for a lot of businesses, a lot of governments around the world, but it also provides huge opportunities for businesses in the green economy sector. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. Claire, oh, there's Claire. Claire's waving. That's fine. There's also a hand. Go for it, Claire.
I have to do a rather manual hand. I guess just one last thing, I guess, to the audience here is, one of the biggest barriers, I think, for digital tech, but also for green tech is it's seen as kind of a cool new toy, right? And you love your technology and you think it's amazing. But I think with IT as well as with green, you have to be able to illustrate and prove the value of what it is that it's actually doing. And I guess I'm really emphasizing this because, as GreenCape, that's a lot of the work that we try to do is we look at these really cool and fun and innovative technologies and services, and we have apply a really critical financial and economic analysis to it. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm asking those guys that are on the call, if you've got something that you think is really amazing and you want to get it out there, come and chat to us and maybe see if we can help you apply that kind of thinking to it, because we're always looking for interesting examples and cool new things, but where we can actually say this has real value for society and the economy. So yeah, just putting that call out there that we are, as GreenCape, also here to support those that work within the green economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. Reshmi, sorry, Cecelia, did you have a new hand, or is that the hand from earlier? Okay, it's you already commented. Reshmi, would you like to add something, or are you good?
Sure, I can't be the only one who doesn't add something.
You're on the spot now.
But I mean, being at the end is also quite tough, because a lot of it has been said by my colleagues on the panel and you as well, our presentations. But just to say that going smart doesn't only have to do with the technological advancements, but also that we ensure that there's financial sustainability, and that the people that are affected by these technologies or that will be embracing these technologies are considered in the process as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Reshmi. On that note, we've reached time, so I've got to call time. The relay baton has been passed and it hasn't been dropped, and it's been an awesome lap around the track. But all jokes aside, to our really dynamic and wonderful panel today. It's been really wonderful having you here. Thanks again. As I said before, time is not a renewable resource, so we really value the time for the webinar, but also in your preparation. So to Claire, to Cecelia, Helen, Reshmi, Marielle, and also Cabral, who popped in. Thank you very much for all your efforts and for really presenting a power-packed webinar today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you again, and all the best for your work that you're doing at the foundation, at GreenCape, and of course, Helen here at the department. So thank you to our presenters, and then to our audience. It's been wonderful having you with us again today. For our regulars, it's great to have you back on board, and to our new members in our community, it's welcome and good that you could be with us today. So thank you for your time and for choosing to share this hour and a bit with us today. What I'm going to do, I'm going to round off this session, but for anybody who wants further information about the Go Digital Western Cape webinar series and the initiatives, I'll be having a rolling display at the end of this call, so you could stay on the line for a minute or two if you wish. But otherwise, that's it from my side. Thanks also to our digital economy team, who does everything in the background and makes all this happen. But from our side at the unit, at the department, and on behalf of GreenCape and the foundation, thank you, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, go digital and go green. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.